The Armada Book 7 Chapter 4 The New Generation Part 2. Do you know how to cook? I think I'm pretty good as a chef. I tried hard and studied cooking to impress women, especially Minnie. I felt really happy with Minnie until I found out about her ulterior motives. I'd like to be your personal chef. Tell me what you like and I will cook it for you. I know, you're thinking that I am thinking that the quickest way into a man's, or woman's, heart is through his or her stomach. I did that with Minnie and ended up terribly. But I would be happy to cook for you. Okay, how's your chicken marinara? To die for, I mean not that I want you to die, but it's really good. What's your favorite? Mac and cheese. Daniel laughed as if expecting some complex dish and said, I can do that. I have the best mac and cheese in town. Just walk into the kitchen and tell Justin you want to work there. Justin appeared beside their table. Ari wants to have dinner with you in 5 hours. Also, Daniel has a large fundraising gala in Los Angeles. He was supposed to donate $30 million for the Children's Hospital to cover disadvantaged kids. He is the center of the fundraising. I am down for a dinner with Ari. Ask her what she likes to eat and Daniel will cook it for her. Daniel smiled and gave the thumbs up. Justin, can you just get my checkbook so I can sign a check, then you can mail it to them? The hospital is really expecting this. I will get your checks for you to sign in a few minutes. Justin said. And Ari wants lamb korma with some biryani rice. Daniel nodded but looked sad, and Crinson told me he is sad because he would like to attend the gala and meet some of the kids, nurses and doctors. I held his hand and said, Daniel, if it would make you happy, the Armada can match your donation and mail the check as well. Really, you would do that? Sure, a few millions will not hurt us. No, I mean, you said you want to make me happy. Yes, because I felt your sadness and I do want you to be happy. And if you would be happy with this donation, then I will do this for you. We will put the money in your account so you can issue one check bearing your name. Don't put any meaning in this, okay? I felt he's trying to pull a fast one. Okay, I thought I could pull a fast one. Daniel said, and I smiled at him. Let me go around and perform my captainly duties. I suggest you go to the kitchen and study how they operate. You might end up burning this brand new ship. I stood and he smiled at me. At dinner time, Daniel told me that we would have dinner at my stateroom for some privacy. He brought all the food there and set up a nice dinner table for us. Ari beamed near me when I was at the drone batteries inspecting the new training equipment at the center of the drone center. I told Ari about Daniel's cooking and table setup. Daniel said that dinner is ready. Justin said. We beamed into my stateroom and Daniel was in my dining area setting up the table. He had an apron on. Welcome, ladies, may I invite you to sit? He gestured for us to sit. The table was well set up with subdued lighting coming from a stand lamp near the wall. As we did, he opened an old-looking bottle of white wine and poured it into 3 wine glasses. Then he sat himself between me and Ari. It was a little tight for 3 people. Daniel motioned his hand, gracefully, towards the food and said, This is lamb korma, lightly spiced. I used coconut milk instead of yogurt. He opened a silverware-covered bowl, and this is your classic mac and cheese with bacon and light Italian spices, and that is your biryani rice with chicken, dates, peas and lightly spiced as well. I cooked this chicken marinara with prosciutto strips and fresh mushrooms. It's a little strong since I used our regular table red wine. This is your regular garden salad with Thai vinaigrette. Bon appetit. I placed the napkin on my lap and looked at the food. I am thinking of starting with the mac and cheese. Start with the salad. Daniel told me as if reading my mind. I asked the Crinson if Daniel went through with any of the Crinsons and Crinson said no. Strange that he can read me. I did start with the salad. It's so amazing that this ship has all the spices I need. Coconut milk, yogurt, even fresh dates. I met your head chef and he is a buffoon. He was very accommodating and supportive. He gave me pointers on how to cook these dishes. I wonder why. Maybe he wanted me to succeed with you, Debbie. Amen to that. Ari said and laughed. Ari seems to be impressed with the food judging from her quietness. This mac and cheese is perfect. I never realized putting some spices would make it more tasty. I said. Debbie, you should try the korma. The lamb is so soft and the sauce is almost sweet and is not at all heavy. The mixed spice is so light you kind of yearn for more. I put some korma on the biryani and it tasted really good. I have never tasted a korma and biryani this good. My compliments to the chef. I nodded at Daniel and he smiled back. I like a bottle of IPA with this food. Ari commented. Justin appeared with 3 bottles. He opened one and poured it on a regular wine glass. Daniel gestured to have one too and Justin poured another bottle on a new wine glass. Daniel sipped the IPA and said, I think IPA blends well with the spirit of the food. Good thinking, Ari. There was less talk and so the food was gone in less than 30 minutes. Daniel, thank you for the fine food. I could get used to this. I told Daniel. It was very good, thank you, Daniel. Ari said. Daniel smiled and said, I am very glad you enjoyed the food. You will feel more addicted to the food as we go along. It's laced with some addiction-inducing ingredient. Once you're addicted, I will pounce on you and take advantage of you. Do I get addicted too? Ari asked. No, it only works with Debbie. By the way, Daniel, when we met at the bistro, we found and removed 2 pipe bombs underneath your limo and the van and traced the culprits to your rival software company. We notified Edna and Dr. Reek to investigate this further. What we found out was that the attempted bombing was to get back at your brother on purely personal matter, not even business-related. Apparently your brother unknowingly dated the daughter of one of their major stakeholders. And when your brother dumped the woman, the daddy felt hurt so he launched this attempt to kill you and your bodyguards. Now because the bombing failed, Dr. Reek believes they will strike again, this time against your sister. They will not succeed and we intend to catch them in the act before they do. Daniel looked sad then later turned calm. I guess, with the Armada protecting my brother, I need not worry. Thank you, Debbie, Ari. So are you returning back to your old famous and billionaire life? Ari asked. No, I believe that I am happy here. It is so different from what I left, but I'm happy. I would like to continue to cook for you, Debbie, and for you also, Ari. Even if I move on to work in another part of the ship. Daniel stood and removed his apron. He moved to the living room area of my stateroom and motioned us to move there and sit. Then I saw Justin fixing the table and leaving a new mantle on it. I'm going to sing a song for you. Justin, please play the first song. A musical piece started and I remember this was my mom's favorite song. It was a song by a woman named Gladys something and the title was You're the Best Thing That Ever Happened to Me. He sang it with a lot of emotion and I felt remembering my mother and dad. Especially my dad since this was his song to my mom. A tear formed in my left eye and fell as the music and his song ended. That was so emotional. Daniel, you sang so perfectly. I told him. A guitar appeared beside Daniel. He picked it up, sat on a chair and started to sing, leaving on a jet plane. This was my song when I was very small, when I told my dad I wanted to be a pilot. He countered that as long as it's only commercial and not a warplane, that's okay. Wait a minute, I think there is some conspiracy here. Justin, have you been helping this guy choose the songs? Justin said yes, telepathically. Ari looked at me then at Daniel. You have a really nice voice. No wonder you're a famous singer. Don't you think so, Debs? Ari said. He has a nice voice. And has a knack of choosing the right songs. Yeah, the first one was your dad's favorite song for your mom and the second was yours. That is so conniving, Daniel, imagine playing with Debbie's feelings. Ari said. I did no such thing. Ask Justin. The first song is my song to Debbie because she really is the best thing that ever happened to me. And the second is my song to myself, which is what recently happened to me, except that it was not just a jet plane but a spaceship. Daniel said, smiling. I will let this pass for now. I enjoyed your 2 songs. I told him. What a liar. The light dimmed and a hologram appeared showing a woman. Daniel appeared in the holo sitting on a chair with a guitar. Justin recorded this earlier. I hope you'll like it. It's a very old song by a British guy named Ed something called Thinking Out Loud. I cut out the vocals and sang it myself, but I retained the video and Justin turned it into a holo. The song started slow and then a man appeared meeting the woman. They started to dance rather sensually. I saw Daniel change his uniform into a formal black pants and vest on white shirt, very much like the man in the holo. May I have this dance, please? He offered his hand to me. Let me change into a free-flowing dress like that woman. My uniform changed quickly, but my body armor still showed underneath the white dress. As he held my hand, I felt him excited. When I looked into his eyes, I felt something, loved, I guess. I felt him move his face touching mine, then his hand pulling my back towards and around him. He raised my leg and I felt his hand tracing my left leg. He even turned around, ending up behind me as he hugged me from behind. I felt his breath and warmth. As he came back in front of me, he moved so that our bodies touched from head to toe. I almost kissed him on his lips, but he made sure I did not. Then I felt his head on my shoulder and mine on his. Then I felt we were turning and being lifted into the air by Justin. What an effect! Then we slowly floated down until our toes touched the floor. Daniel was really a very good dancer and we flowed seamlessly. You dance pretty well, he told me. Elementary ballet classes. The song was really nice and the dance emotional and graceful. It ended when the lyrics stopped. I really wanted to dance some more. Thanks for the dance, you danced really well. And Justin lifted us perfectly on cue. I told him. He bowed and smiled. I bowed as well. That was really touching. I liked the song a lot and you 2 danced like you have been dancing together like forever. I know Debbie dances really well, but together you 2 danced like a couple. Some parts of your dance was very sensual. Ari said. The hologram changed to a scene of pristine lake with a mountain backdrop. Then Daniel appeared in the holo holding a guitar and started to sing, You've Got a Friend. Daniel approached Ari and asked her to dance with him. They danced with minimal movement as if they just stood there talking. But they were not talking. Ari and I were talking. This guy is really cute, Debs. His eyes is really blue, sharp and clear. He smells like lamb korma and biryani rice, so delectable. When we danced I felt him so happy and excited and loving. He felt my body, my hands and my legs. He thought my body was so soft and my smell sweet. I think he raped me in his head. I told Ari. Dancing is one form of making love, sexual but in another way. Ari said. Then Daniel did something that caught us both by surprise. He embraced Ari tight, trying to feel her. He held her head tight to his cheek. Ari did not fight it but just stood there. As if he was trying to feel her, to mold with her. But still he remained quiet. Will you promise to take care of my best friend, take care of Debbie? I will love and adore her forever. Daniel whispered into Ari's ear. Ari looked into his eyes and tried to read his mind. He said it, feeling happy, Debs. Well, I'm not falling for any of this. He knows we are talking telepathically and he's using you to get to me. Deny all you want. I vote for this guy. Ahem. Don't ahem me, I know you like this guy. I have a lot of work. And besides, once he realizes that we will live longer than a few hundred years, he will really think about it. Or start a good thing and make it last longer than forever. I think he knows this long life already. Ari countered. We stopped talking until the song ended and the holo disappeared. You sang that really well, Daniel. I told him. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you for the dance, Daniel. Ari said. My pleasure. So what's next? Ari asked. Ice cream. Daniel countered. He jumped up and headed for the table. 3 cups of ice cream appeared and he gave one each to me and Ari. He sat across from us. So Daniel, tell us about your past girlfriends, starting from the most blatant gold digger. Ari told him. That would be Stacy. Daniel related his experiences in a rather comedic way. We were laughing out loud for around 2 hours. Until I was called off to look at a software glitch in a brand new ship. Ari and Daniel retired consequently. We left planet Portland in 4 days and were headed towards an area at the middle of Sam's and Sonia's planets. We were being thrown by the hop ships 2 at a time. My ship was the last to go through. Sonia started to colonize one beautiful planet just 10 MLY away and Sam followed suit with a colony start in another planet 15 MLY from her planet. They started this colonization after they realized it added more to their already high level of wealth generation and general prosperity. Sonia prepared for our arrival. She told us to teleport our party to a certain building. We found ourselves on a stage or raised area with thousands of Armada cadets in attendance in a very large open park. Welcome Debbie and party. Sonia said. The crowd started to clap their hands, some shouting their greetings. She moved to give me a hug, then each of the 10 commanders, then Daniel. I waited for the crowd to quiet down, then I introduced the commanders and Daniel. Claps occurred each time, so it took a while to finish. Sonia walked and stood at the center of the stage in front of us and said, not very long ago Debbie visited our planet. Then a large hollow screen showed me and Ari walking in the streets of the city in our Armada uniforms. We were waving at the crowd and at some kids. Behind us was Ari's mom with Sonia and then our delegation, then Sonia's people followed by a band. The streets were lined with well-wishers for about a mile. The crowd became noisy again, clapping their hands. Sonia moved her hand and the crowd toned down. Yes, not so long ago Debbie and Ari came over and inspired all our kids beyond belief. Some of those kids in the crowd during that parade are actually here today wearing the same uniforms as she did. Now I see very young commanders behind her that I learned just finished their Armada degrees, some in their final internship. I also understand that Ari has her own 10-ship squad but was assigned somewhere else. This is really a great day to now understand that the Armada has a new generation of commanders. That the Armada has grown very large and will continue to grow. And Debbie is living proof. She gestured to me to move to the center and talk. Now I have no idea what to talk about. Sonia told me telepathically to talk about getting some of them on board, about providing for the internship, about various Armada degrees being required in the field, tell some funny stories and a sad one also. Tell them about Armada achievements and adventures, anything will be music to them. Hi. It's really a great honor to be here with my commanders. I am honored to speak before you. I looked and pointed at the screen again and said, I looked so young then, now I'm old. The crowd laughed. One of my commanders, Junior Commander Marisi. I turned and looked at Marisi and she moved 2 crisp steps in front. Came from your planet, from this city. She majored in sociology and history. She is a very capable commander. The crowd clapped their hands at Marisi. Then I spoke about the Armada Training Academy in Portland, how it has grown to involve dozens of species. How the courses were restructured to cater to certain specific Armada needs but with a basic commander course. How the internship has developed and became dynamic. Then I talked about a recent Armada multi-dimension sortie I went through. Then I basically repeated my speech to my crew before they came on board. I let the crowd quiet down and said I would like to get 5,500 of you guys to move over to my ships at 500 per ship. I want the recent graduates and if needed some of those in their last year of internship. This took the crowd by surprise and they erupted in a loud cheer. I looked at Sonia and she smiled. Thank you, Debbie. she said telepathically. It was your idea. And now I have to do this with Sam's. I told her back. I turned to the crowd again and said, I would like to have your top leadership to decide on the list. The reception extended to 4 city blocks with the large park at the center. Tables lined the streets and half of the park. My people beamed in batches and integrated with the local cadets and crowd. Sonia introduced my commanders to their council members. We sat at a half-moon table on the stage with food being delivered by waiters and waitresses. I sat with Sonia on my right and Daniel on my left. Marisi sat on Sonia's right, then a council member. Daniel, I heard you are a famous singer, award-winning movie actor and billionaire playboy. And now you work for the Armada as a chef. Sonia said. Sonia, I am not an Armada chef in a sense, I only cook for Debbie, so I'm her personal chef. I also work as a drone operator and I'm studying to become a field operative. Daniel said. I held Daniel's hand and felt it cold. I held it with 2 hands. Daniel and I have grown very close largely due to the evening dinners we have and his personalized entertainment mini-productions. I still could not say that I love him though. Maybe 1/10 of his feelings for me. I have had boyfriends before, but maturity and crimson abilities tend to make you spread out your loving and not used to a concentrated love on an individual. And I never loved my boyfriends even if I thought I did then. As an Armada commander, I had become wary of outcomes and people. Daniel understands this and is very patient. I like patience. If I had to list all the things I like about a man, Daniel would fit perfectly in all of them and more. But it is really strange that I have not fallen in love with this lovely man. I continue to feel his love for me and I could not let myself return this as honestly as I can. I know in time maybe I would, and this thought gives me hope. Sonia shifted the conversation to our inner circle of friends and relatives, human and not, all of whom she knows personally. It was a long conversation punctuated by laughs of their misadventures. I realized Marisi was in awe of the stories Sonia and I told each other. All along Daniel held my hand. I liked that. We were more than a month into our deployment when tragedy struck. Justin told Daniel that his mother was killed in a road accident about 18 hours ago. A young drunk woman driver T-boned his sister's car on the side where his mother was. She was dead on the spot. His sister was not injured, except for scratches on the right arm. I found him in his room crying. If you like, I can accompany you to Earth and we could be there in an hour. Ari wants to meet us there, but I told her no need. He nodded and hugged me tightly. I kissed him on the cheeks and told him how sorry I was that this tragedy caused him so much pain. Justin fixed our throw sequence with a backup ship under Marisi. In about 2 hours we arrived near Earth orbit and parked near the space station. Daniel and I beamed near his sister's house where the wake was being held. We entered through the front door and went near the coffin. Daniel cried quietly and whispering said, I love you, Mom, I so love you so much. I worked hard for you and earned money for you. I did all these things for you so you'd be happy. Then he kept quiet as if praying. I just held his hand and I felt his pain. I kept reading his mind and I saw images of his mother and father, their lives together. I saw how he adored his mother more than his father. I saw how he struggled to help her put food on the table and provide for his siblings. He was really the breadwinner of the family. He started singing to earn money and made good when he won a contest. Then the albums came along, then movies. He really worked hard for his family, never losing his focus to provide for whatever they needed, whatever his mother needed. Debbie, we found his mother's ghost and brought her to your ship. She could not move on because she missed Daniel. She told us that once she sees him, she will move on. Justin reported. I whispered this to Daniel and he smiled. Let's go, he said. As we were leaving, the people there started to shake Daniel's hand. Then his sisters and brother ran from the kitchen and saw him. They quickly went into a group hug. I stepped away, further, so they would not be crowded. I went to the restroom and beamed out. Hello Debbie, I'm Jan, Daniel's mom. Before me was a lady pretty much like my mom in stature. She looks fit and taller than Daniel. She also looks like a female version of Daniel. She moved to hug me and I kissed her on the cheek. I am so glad to meet you, Mrs. Thorne. Call me January Debbie. Your Justin explained to me your relationship to my son and I am not at all surprised. He gave up everything on earth to be with you. Do you know that his dad did the same for me? His dad was from the United States and belongs to the Warren family. His family was very rich, he was very rich and also a playboy. But when we met he literally dropped all the things he had and moved in with me, to be with me, even when we were not a couple then. I learned to love him after a while. I know you will too, after a while. She smiled and I am happy now. I hope so too, to be able to honestly tell him that I do. I said with a smile. Debbie, there is one thing about Daniel that most people don't know. He has ADHD and one of the symptoms or things that he does especially when he gets irritated or stressed out is to fret and complain about the smallest things. He becomes stiff and very uneasy. Be patient with him, stay quiet and he will calm himself down. I think he got it from me. Jan said. I supposed he got your singing and acting abilities as well? I suggested. Yes, he did. You are so nice, Debbie. I know you have been kind to Daniel and I want Daniel to be with you forever. Please take care of my son, Debbie. Jan pleaded. Of course, January. I answered. Jan, do you want to talk to any of your kids for the last time before you move into the light? Jan thought for a while and said. Yes, I guess some parting words will be nice. Let me talk to Daniel about this. Daniel, I am here with your mom and she tells me that she wants to talk to all of you, your sisters and your brother. I will let your siblings talk to her but they would have to sign an NDA like you did. Okay, Debbie, I will gather them in a car and drive out. I will have them sign the NDA. Daniel said. Jan was listening to our conversation that Justin put on air. A holo showed Daniel arguing with his siblings, then they walked towards a car. Daniel took the wheel and drove off. The siblings signed the NDA in the car. Debbie, they signed it already. Beam the whole car to the hangar, now. Daniel said. I told Jan that we would be moving to the hangar bay to meet her kids. Justin beamed us near the hangar door. Daniel ran around the car and hugged his mother tightly. He kissed her on both cheeks as he cried. I am sorry, Mom, I was not there for you. No, Daniel, you have always been there for me. Jan said. Then the other siblings took their mother to a game of musical hugs, then a group hug. Daniel left the group and approached me. Thank you, Debbie, you did not have to do this but you did, so thank you. I held his hand and I wanted you to be happy and not feel any more pain. I can't bear to see a handsome grown man cry. He smiled, moved, and kissed my hand. The brother and sisters were crying with the mother. Then they hugged and kissed and talked. After a few minutes, they walked towards me and Daniel. Kids, this is Debbie, Daniel's almost girlfriend. Debbie, this is Diane and Dora, and my eldest son Derek. I shook their hands. May I offer some refreshments? A table appeared with some chairs. Orange juice, coffee, tea or ice cream? I offered. Why don't we all take a seat? Daniel, sit beside me, Debbie, sit here on my right. Justin, I want some white wine please. Jan said. Justin appeared with a bottle and 5 wine glasses. He poured the whole wine bottle into the 5 glasses. All along the siblings looked shocked. Jan unceremoniously got one of the wine glasses and drank. This is good stuff, come Diane, Dora, a little wine will not hurt. Jan gave me one of the glasses. Justin, get a bottle of brandy for Derek and me. Justine appeared again with 2 brandy glasses. He poured it and Daniel gave the first glass to Derek. Daniel stood and proposed a toast, to Mom, a very good life well spent. I love you deeply, we all do. They toasted to her. Thank you, Danny dear. I would like to thank Debbie for proposing that I see you guys. Actually, I have nothing much to say except that I love each of you very much. I also want you to work together, to support each other and to be kind to each other, except you, Dora, since you're a nun, you're always kind. Oh, I almost forgot, your dad came from a very wealthy family in the United States and he left all his money there. The condition set by the family trust was that it would only be available upon my death. Mom, we don't need any more money. Derek said. I know that, dear, but Dora might find good use for it. Jan looked at Dora. She can have it all. Diane said. We are not into money. I know that. All this is not about money. It is because we love each other. I brought the subject up because your father's family, unknown to you, is very rich. Your father was very rich. But he left all that to be with me. His family hated me for this and basically disowned him and put all his money in stasis until I die. And I did not even love him when he lived with me. I just gradually fell in love with him. Maybe this is the reason why I am still a ghost and not moved on. Just like Danny, Diane said. Jan held my hand, yes, like Danny dear. And like me, Debbie has not learned to love him yet. So she is not really Danny's girlfriend but almost an almost girlfriend. Like me in time, I am sure she will love your brother. Debbie is probably the kindest and most loving person you can ever meet. I feel her goodness. Jan held my hand with both hands and kissed it and held it on her lips for a bit of time. So I hope you do not disown me. Daniel quipped. When Mom kissed Debbie's hand, Danny, that sealed it for us. You either stay with her and love her and adore her forever or we disown you. Derek said. The group laughed. I always have and it increases every day. Danny said. Okay, now Mom made her point, what is all this, Danny? Dora asked, motioning her hands around. I stood up and started to explain when a Crimson told me that a light just opened behind Derek. Excuse me, Jan, the light appeared behind Derek and I think it's time to say good.
Bye.
Jan stood and hugged me. Then she kissed me on both cheeks. Then she turned to Daniel and embraced him tightly, then kissed his forehead. The others seemed to understand what is happening and stood. Jan went around and hugged each of her kids tightly and kissed them also on the forehead. I am happy. I feel really happy. Jan told her kids. She stepped backwards and turned to face the light and disappeared. The siblings all had tears in their eyes. Crimson was happy, especially that brief moment when somebody enters the light. Crimson shared this experience to me and I felt elated so much and I told Crimson to repeat this again and again. The experience was very brief that 24 of them was less than 1/10 of a second. Then I felt a tear form and started to fall. I suddenly felt I wanted to share this with Daniel, but not now. So that's how it is? Dora asked me. Actually, when a person dies, the person sees a light that draws them, they would feel loved and at peace. However, some people have issues and this light does not happen. And they find themselves walking in the corporal world as ghosts. When they find resolution, they move on like your mother did. She will find herself facing that light she should have been drawn to in the first place. To us she appears to just step into an invisible door, but to her it's a portal to that light. Crimsons feel this light for a very brief instant when it opens for your mother to go through and it feels the light. It feels the peace and tranquility, the love and oneness with the universe. Crimson could never get enough of this feeling and sometimes they can transfer this feeling to me. Maybe you could say Crimson has a brief instance of God. At least now we know that you're correct, Dora. Derek told her. Apparently Derek has the same light humor as Daniel has. Daniel, why don't you tour them around? I will meet you at the bridge in 2 hours or whenever you come over. Then we can have dinner together. Daniel nodded and I bid the group good.
Bye.
Daniel met me at the bridge a little after 2 hours with his siblings. I stood to greet him. He held my hand looking concerned and said, Debbie, I would like to go downside to settle a lot of things. I have to divest all my properties to my brother and sisters. I have to sign off a lot of properties. And I want to know a little more about my dad's family. Like why they treated my mom the way they did. Well, that's fine. Just call me or you can travel through the hops. I will be about 4 hours on a moderately busy day. I will just be between Sonia's and Sam's. Anyway, I will call you wherever I am if I ever leave the area. Since now that you're a part of the Armada, actually a Class 2 VIP, Tony will be monitoring your movements and apply the primary directive to you. He will be at your service whenever you call. So I have my own Justin? Daniel looked surprised. And what's a Class 2 VIP anyway? More or less you have an AI at your service and yes, Tony will be providing you with whatever you need. A Class 2 is an Armada person with the rank of captain or higher or related to a captain in the Armada. I explained to him. So I am related to you since you're a captain of a Rodin-class ship? More or less. The ships know you. I mean all the Armada ships know you. For example, Tony knows all there is about you, like your personality. Debbie, can I go through the Crimson? I might need some abilities in my investigations. Sure, of course, I thought you would never ask. I told him. Can my brother and sisters go through also? I'm sorry but no. But I could give them the communications implant. I told him and continued, and since you're studying to be a field operative, you get the newer hearing and vision implants as well. Why don't I hang around with your brother and sisters while you go through Crimson? We'll meet you at the mess hall. Daniel nodded and disappeared. I told the group to stay still for about 3 minutes, after which I explained how to use the implant. I led the group to the mess hall. I explained to them it's like a cafeteria and we have to get our tray of food. I told to them to get more than they usually can eat and they did. Like Daniel, they stood to look at space then sat down. So Debbie, you have your own ship and in charge of 10 other ships? Dora asked. Yes, I know, it's a little unnerving at first but you would get used to all of this. I told them. Danny seems to be so at home here. Everybody knows him and even the other aliens greeted him, hugged and even kissed him. Diana said. Yes, this ship is his home. This is our home and all are my brothers and sisters in arms. They all love Daniel, he sings for and with them. He entertains them. He comes up with these sometimes crazy small mini plays or holographic plays that they enjoy watching. It's like you have a movie maker on board. Just now I got a request from 30 people who volunteered to assist Daniel in his investigation. I approved only 5, and these are not at all the same species. Well, 2 are humans but not from Earth. I explained to them. And yes, I was talking to them telepathically. My brother really loves and adores you, Debbie. I have never seen my brother this way. I hope that you learn to love him. Derek said to me looking straight into my eyes. I am sure I will, in time. Is there a way for me to join the Armada, Debbie? Dora asked. I thought for a while, Justin, can you ask Father Greg to come over please? Just as I finished with a bite, Father Greg appears. Hi Debbie, what's up? I stood and hugged him. Father Greg, this is Daniel's brother Derek, his sister Diane, and this is Sister Dora, a Catholic nun working in Ghana. She is also Daniel's sister and she is asking how she can join the Armada. I can get in touch with her in a day or 2. I am forming an away team and she could be part of this team. What is it that you do, Father Greg? Derek asked. I am part of Operation Phantom Tide. Debbie is one of the top leaders of the Phantom Tide operation. We deal with dead people who have ghosts. We try to help them meet our maker and resolve whatever issues they have. Fascinating. Diana said. I would like to work with you, Father Greg. Do you need my number? No, sister, once you go through the TP system you already have a tag and we can find you in any planet or galaxy, wherever you are. All three of us? Diana asked. Father Greg nodded a yes. We have a lot of sisters, nuns, priests, Robbie, preachers, and so in our group. You may even know some of them. You will definitely feel right at home. You know what, why don't I take you now? Father Greg told Dora. That would be fine. Derek, Diane, I would like to go with Father Greg. Dora told her brother and sister. They hugged and kissed each other and Dora left with Father Greg. Debbie, Daniel told me that Edna is part of the Armada. So I gather the work we are doing for her is for the Armada? My Aunt Edna has a lot of projects. Technically she is not part of the Armada. I really do not know what the work is, but if ever, it may also have to do with her business in a lot of galaxies. It may be that the work is just to enable you to be trained in some way. You are related to her? Diane asked. No, but we are very close, so I call her Auntie, together with her best friends, Maria and Liz. I have a very large and very close-knit family here, some of whom are not even human. Yes, Daniel said you are a VIP in the Armada at such a young age. Diana said. I was in it very early on with the people who started the Armada, who are all part of this close-knit family. Daniel told me to move to planet Los Angeles and settle there. Derek said, looking at me. You could, I think it would be better for all of you to move there. You can just beam to Earth when you need to be there. Otherwise you can also work from home or from your office in planet Los Angeles that you will set up. After a while you will get used to it, traveling to different planets, dealing with different species and so on. I guess you're right. Now I do not even look at the Bofangs or Norsats around us. It seems so ordinary now. And yes, Derek, I would like to move to planet Los Angeles. Diane said and continued, I like a house beside a lake or river. You can have yours beside me. It's a very good time to move. Land is so cheap, you can get your lots beside each other, say a 12-acre cut for each of you. As built houses are now so cheap, much cheaper than Earthside houses. Me and my mom, we have a small 2-bedroom house on a hill beside a lake for several years now. Just ask Daniel. As if on cue Daniel appeared. I stood to give him a hug and help him sit beside Derek. Thanks Debbie, I would like to get some food. But maybe later, I'm a bit groggy. Daniel said. I will get food for you. Diane said and stood up to get food from the counter. So how do you feel? I asked him telepathically. I'm okay. You look really pretty. I love you so much. Daniel told me telepathically. Well, make sure to know when to talk and when you telepathically talk. I told him. He suddenly realized he just telepathically talked to me. And thank you for the pretty part. I guess I need to know when to talk and when I telepathically talk. But you're really pretty and I love you. He said telepathically. You seem so quiet, Daniel. Derek nudged him. No, we were talking telepathically. I told Derek. Diane arrived with a tray of 3 plates. She put the tray in front of Daniel and kissed him on the head. She must love her brother very much. You always know what I like, Diane. Daniel said. I also know what kind of girls you like. Diane said, making Daniel and Derek laugh. I'm a changed man, sister. Just then Eric appeared and all the people in the mess hall stood and saluted. I stood and saluted. Eric returned the salute and walked over to us. He gave me a hug and a kiss on the cheek. I introduced him to Daniel, Derek and Diane. He shook hands with them while I pulled a chair for him to sit. Debbie, I came over to meet Daniel. Eric said. You couldn't help it, I know. I told him. Eric laughed and said, actually I came over to tell you also that I have dozens of ships that are still unassigned. I want to give you 15 of these and I was thinking maybe you can make good use for them and work at the Rosies. It's a little far. You have to fill in the personnel for these ships with people from Portland. I would suggest you bring these newbies to Sonia's and Sam's and get those stationed there to go with you to the Rosies. Eric said. I can do that. I told my boss. So Daniel, just ask Tony where I am and plot out a TP sequence for you. By the way, 30 of your friends volunteered to help you. I approved only 5. Why don't you give him a Vinta so his group has a base of operations? Eric suggested. Good idea, boss. Daniel, get one of the new Vintas in the hangar. You can fly around and land on Earth in these. It also has its own TP. But you still have to work with Tony to handle this Vinta if you want everything automatic. Now that's done. Debbie, Daniel, guys, I have to go. People are already in my office waiting. Nice to meet you guys, but you have to excuse me. He disappeared. After you finish eating, I will accompany you to the hangar so you can beam to Earth in your Vinta. Your 5 friends are already checking out which Vinta to use. It's been over a month since I have seen Daniel personally. Every week he would send me a solo of himself singing a song for me. Or telling me what he had been doing or simply talking to me. He told me excitedly about his use of the field implants. I don't know why he never sent a live holo of himself and just talked to me. Maybe he does not know that he can. But he did show himself on meetings or dates with women while a Trunty is reading his date's mind. Some of the thoughts the women had were really gross and some funny. His team reported to him what other people were thinking, and it was a real eye-opener for him. I told him I get a progress report from Justin on his investigation and that he can just appear before me and talk to me as a holo. I also told him that I get calls from his siblings and we talked about anything. That they also sometimes talk about him and his secrets and misadventures when he was young. I saw him react more irritated than surprised. It turned out his mother was a famous singer and actress on the more liberal side while his dad's family was on the very conservative side. His mother had a bad accident and this ended her career. When the father died, they fell into hard times. It was a good thing Daniel was in college then and was able to work. The next day he appeared as a holo and I cannot really fault them. I tried to be with them and understand my dad's side of the family. I wanted them to treat me as a real relative. But I guess since I look like my mom, it is really a hard proposition for them. It also complicates things because they have a subdued but heavy condescending attitude for those people who do not think the way they do and are not rich. After tomorrow, I will bid them goodbye and leave. I will meet you in 3 days at the Rosies. He said then disappeared. There were no words of affection this time. Maybe he's tense or something, he did seem stiff. As I sat on the sofa of my stateroom, I asked Justin if there was any new holo movie from Daniel that he sent that I have not seen. I have started to look forward to these holos, which may be a mini movie or just a holo of Daniel doing something. He has become my favorite after-work TV show that relaxes me and relieves me of the day's tension. With some scotch, of course. Daniel has not sent anything that you have not seen. But there is one I played that you have not really seen. It was your first dance with him. Do you want to see it now? I nodded a yes. Yes, I realized and have never really seen that. Justin replayed the holo musical presentation Daniel did and I watched. It was really very well made. He played the guitar really well. I watched again and this time the words he was singing hit me. I saw his face singing and he had a tear falling. I guess he really was feeling it. When the song ended I felt missing Daniel so much. I guess absence really make the heart go fonder. I replayed the holo 3 more times and asked Justin this time to add me and Daniel dancing in the holo. I watched myself and I watched Daniel. I watched his face and my expression. Ari was right, we do look like a couple even as we floated. Then I felt something I have never felt before and now I had a tear falling. I could not define it. I don't think it's even love. Maybe, but I don't know. How stupid can I be not knowing what it is? Justin, what do you think? I think you are falling in love, Debbie. You always think about him, you always want to make him happy, you are always happy and excited to see him, to know whatever it is about him, and you do these things just for him and it makes you happy. When he's around, your blood pressure rises. And you're too old to have a crush on the guy. Justin, my AI, said. As a very advanced AI, they must really understand personalities, especially the boss's personality. All ship AIs learn to observe the crew and after several years would have a solid understanding of the person. No matter where they are assigned on a long-term basis, this personal information is passed on to the present ship AI where the person is. So what was that I felt? No, I don't think Justin is right. Maybe a little bit. The next day I appeared before Ari and related to her what I felt. I told her I was not drunk or anything like that. I think you just should let go. I know you're afraid and cautious. You doubt things like we were trained. You question even your decisions and gut feel of things. Just let your feelings go and enjoy the ride. I have to get him to live with me in my stateroom then? Maybe not yet, but eventually. I don't think you will have a problem with each other even if he moves in early on. I see him as a very respectful person, sensitive to your feelings. And he will cook for you. Who does that? If a guy cooks for me, I will be happy forever. Then she paused and thought for a while. Remember you sent me all the holos he sent to you? Well, I like them all, especially his dates and his interaction with his female staff. Some of them were throwing themselves at him in a last effort to change his mind. They were all thinking what kind of a woman would make this guy leave everything just to be with the woman. And the funny thing was that he pretended to give in up to a certain point. He did try to enjoy them. What a double dealer. And he knows you will see these. So what do I do now? I asked. Just let him know what you feel at the very least. He will understand that you don't open up and are really guarded as far as your feelings are concerned. But he will appreciate it, especially when you actually tell him the love word. So I have to kiss him then? Debbie, you have made out with so many boys since high school. Ari said. Yes, but this is different. I feel so afraid and unsure. You'll be fine, just enjoy the drama. Ari said. Remember, this may be part of the TV series since the plot is very interesting and unique. Since he's a well-known movie star, when the show airs in Germany, you'll be famous. Right now everybody is asking who captured Daniel's heart. I don't mind the TV series. I am also not into this famous thing. I just want to make sure I am doing the right thing. Especially as an Armada officer. The ship AI provides the control on relationships in the ships. While it does not intend to break up illicit relationships, it provides opinions and advice. The Armada have no issues as long as we do our job, and the ship AI knows this. Their moral compass is very wide since we are talking about more than 36 species. The ship AI knows already what you and Daniel feel about each other. Crimson knows and defines this for the AIs, so there is reality in what the AI understands. Yes, Justin told me that I am falling in love already. See, he's right. Crimson feels you, Debbie. You and I have always been very close to Crimson, from the very beginning. I also know Crimson nudges the AIs to make things happen. So you could say, the path is made easier for you two to fall in love. Ari said. I know that. Crimson told me that also. Debs, I have to run, the recans are here and I have to talk to the commanders. Just tell him how you feel at the very least. Ari said, and I was cut off. The days went by and I just had a telepathic message from Justin that Daniel has arrived and would be in his room shortly. I gave it 30 minutes before I beamed by his door and knocked. I felt a bit tense and said to myself, here goes nothing. He opened the door and I walked in. He closed the door and he quickly hugged and kissed me on the cheek. I held him tight and kissed him on the lips. I felt relieved, happy, and his lips felt strange but nice. I guess it's been so long since I kissed a man on the lips. I was hugging him very tight. He released me and hugged my head beside his, he held my head close to his cheeks and said, "I love you so much, Debbie." He broke off the hug. I smiled at him and holding his 2 hands I said, "I missed you a lot. And you know," I paused, "I think I am falling in love with you." I kissed him again and this time it was lighter. Then he hugged me for a very long time, feeling me. The tension is gone and I felt like a cold wind hit my face and I am so comfortable and at peace. Then I felt weak. I held his hand and moved him to the sofa. Maybe it's the long hours of work suddenly hitting me or maybe just a big relief from it. "Thank you, Debbie," Daniel said. "For what?" "For being true to your feelings. At least now I know that you would be loving me somehow." "Well, I do love you now, but I believe it will grow stronger every day," I said, finally completing the act. "I am not going to ask you to move in with me now, but soon, when I am ready." Daniel held my hand, kissed it and said, "Whatever makes you happy, makes me happy." "How about tomorrow?" I told him. "Your soon is very soon." He laughed. "Justin would have to change my bed to a bigger one tomorrow and I want a larger table. My table is the standard table which is not really meant to be used to dine in." "Exactly my thoughts, Debbie." He smiled.